Good evening, everyone, and
Oh,
welcome
we're
to
back.
the J Free 906 podcast and the Freeman Files. Tom Burns and I here with you tonight. Tom, how are you doing? Is it cold up there in
It's balmy -4 degrees Celsius right now and just starting to snow. So
yeah,
not bad. It's gonna
yeah,
go back
it was
to about
28
freezing. This stuff
today.
won't anymore in a couple of days.
Yeah, it was 28 degrees here today, and the wind chill was like 13. So yeah, it
Mm.
was a bit cold. Hope you all are doing well. Some of you are probably in warmer weather, but I guess this cold air is going quite a ways south. So I hope you guys are all staying warm tonight.
It's free. It's from
Um,
us, and you're welcome.
yeah. So yeah, it's I'm laughing because I had things going. I had the thumbnail up, I had the video starting to play, and then I realized I never did click on go lives. So I was going to be talking to just me and Tom. Nobody was going to be around. So anyway, sorry. That's why we were just a moment or two late. Probably apologize. Oh, thank you all for being here with us tonight. We are going to be discussing again two shows tonight. We're going to cover the Curse of Oak Island, episode number 4, season 12, episode 4, Concrete Evidence. And I guess two people actually said the name of the show during the show. I thought that was kind of cool. Um, it was Gary and Rick both. I said something
Mhm.
about concrete evidence. So we're going to talk about that, and we're also going to talk a little bit about the tales from Oak Island last night. Was another really good one, I thought. What'd you think about that?
Oh, Tales was excellent. Excellent. It highlighted a lot of Scott Clark's material. Scott was on there. It was another excellent episode. It's a great storyline. Like if you because the show only Curse of Oak Island only shows you a little bit of limited information that
Mhm.
fits that show.
Right.
But when you hear the tales, you get the whole storyline,
Mhm.
and it makes it all come together. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was very, very good last night. So we're going to talk about that one a little bit, uh, about Mr. Phipps and Mr. Belcher. So we're going to cover that a little bit tonight. So sorry, Lisa Bates, we're going to spoil it for you. She said she hadn't watched it yet in the chat tonight. I saw that and said, well, sorry, but we're going to spoil some for you.
Mhm.
But you still should watch it because if you like those tales, I think they're doing a great job of putting together more, like Tom said, more in-depth information about those. So that's a good thing to I think to watch. So thank you all
Yep.
for being here with us tonight. We are
And
going to
Tales of Oak Island is still on same night in both countries now.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Still, it's on Tuesday
Still
night.
on Tuesday night. So I think when the Skinwalker stuff kind of finale runs down, you might see
Mhm.
it swing over to Sunday again. But as of right now, it's still showing on for next Tuesday. So
Okay, cool. All right. Well, that's good. I wish they would do that with Oak Island because I know that a
yes.
lot of people that are, up in Canada don't watch the podcast because they don't want to get the spoilers because you guys don't get it until Sunday
No.
night
And I know some people who wait and watch the podcast on, like, for
after.
example, next Monday.
Mhm. And that's fine too. Appreciate
Mhm.
that.
Yep.
So hey, Jared Rollins. Um, so yeah, and we're gonna have a giveaway again tonight. We've got two things on this particular giveaway, and I'll show you those pictures right now if I can click on the right button. First, we have this book here by Doug Simmons. That's his latest venture. Oak Island's first visitors, Irish monks, Vikings, and Templars, the
It's a good
artifacts
book. I've got
and
it.
the evidence. I don't have this one yet.
No, it's a good book. I've
Um,
got it. And it's
yeah, so
Doug.
I've got to
Tonight
get
we had
this.
Doug on. I will plead guilty to marking it all up and highlighting it all over.
Yeah,
Guilty,
so we
guilty as charged.
Yeah, and we also have this keychain. If I can find, there it is. We also have this keychain here that is going to be added with that right there. Nova Scotia. It's got the island and on it, and Oak Island written on there. So that is going to be with that, and we're going to do that after we finish with the Oak Island stuff, and before we jump into Tales of Oak Island. We're
Hmm.
going to do that tonight, and we'll get all that discussion going. So, as always, if you haven't already, we really would appreciate if you'd subscribe to the channel and click on that notification bell so you know just when we have some new content coming out. And if you like the content of what we do for you tonight on this show, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps us out a lot with all the YouTube stuff. And getting more, that's one of the things that it's got to be one of the hardest things about YouTube is trying to get it out there to more and more people. And for some reason, it's YouTube sometimes struggles with getting your target audience and putting it out there for enough people to see. But then, there's all all kinds of stuff. I always tried to work my thumbnails so that they're catchy, but yet not. You
Yeah.
know, totally against clickbait. I'm not going to put something out that we're not going to talk about. So I try to be very good about that to put out good thumbnails that relate to what we're going to discuss, as in the one for tonight, the flood
Mhm.
tunnels.
Yeah. There is an algorithm to it. It's a matter of trying to hit that
I
proper
know
algorithm.
it really is. It really is. All right. So yeah, hit that like button. Thank you, Jared.
Mhm.
All right. All right. So we're going to get started. Let's jump into this.
Any
Uh,
pictures?
I do have a couple.
Got a couple? Oh, good. I didn't have any, so
Oh, well, there you go. All
yeah,
right. Well,
yeah.
I
But
got
you
you
bail me
covered.
out again.
Yeah, I got you covered
Mm.
with plenty of pictures. And again, I always start off with that aerial shot, that they show at the beginning of the program. And this one I thought was cool because you can see just where the choice drilling rig is working in the money pit right now, right up there close to the garden shaft. You can see kind of a neat one. And they still, at this point, still have the C1 can in the
Hmm.
ground, which I thought was really
Yep.
cool. And here's another picture, and I grabbed this one simply because you get a better look of just where they are located. And I noticed too that they have dismantled some of the railing around the garden shaft. They've of course got it all closed up so
Mhm.
nobody can fall into it, and then it's all locked
I
up
mean,
and everything. So,
they're almost to the. I mean, if
mhm.
you could drill straight down right there, I mean, they're almost to the section where they reached out and grabbed those planks.
Yes, they are.
Right, that was on that side. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it really was. And that's why, well, we'll get to that as we go along
Mhm.
here. But what they found in the drill program on tonight's show, well, we're going there right now. So let's just jump right into that. They're working on the golden egg, and the first spot that they were working was FN 15.5. And they had that little pattern that they're hitting all over the golden egg area. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention too. Sorry, Seth Bridges was supposed to be here with us tonight, but he had a little emergency when he got home. Nothing earth shattering, we hope, but he could not be here. He had to get this little emergency taken care of. So
He'll be
that's why.
back.
That's why. Yes, he'll be back. That's why you don't see
He's
Seth.
not fired or anything. You know, he's
No,
good.
we didn't kick him out of here. We need him.
Yes, we do.
He's got good insights. So that's what's up. So keep your well wishes for Seth. It's like I said, nothing family wise or anything like that, but he'll be back. So they did the FN 15.5, and yes, I believe so. I without reaching out and asking the guys directly, coach, about that, it's my based on what we've seen and heard, yes, I would say that it was flooded from that side, which is kind of why I'm wondering why they haven't hit any water.
So you guys think it was flooded from the west side of the garden shaft?
The northwest side, off
Northwest
of
side, yeah. Northwest side, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
off of this side, because I think that that was coming that tunnel
I'll have
that
to go
they've been
back and look at the
chasing.
tape again. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that tunnel they've been chasing, I think, kind of went along
Hmm.
right here, and I think that's where those boards were that they
Yep.
found
Hmm.
sticking out there, and it was just the floorboards. The rest of them were gone, and it was
Yep.
all obviously all full of dirt and everything. So,
Mhm.
um, so FN 15.5 comes up with nothing.
Dry hole.
Um, yeah, just what do you call it? What do you call it? In situ.
Yeah, everything's in situ. Yeah.
Yep, all the way through, and then
Nothing there to write home to mother about.
right later in the yeah, exactly. Later in the show, they do this one here, GN 16
Hmm.
again. Nada.
No.
They went down. See, GN 16. They went down to 119 feet, and I didn't catch the other one. It was
They're
about
both down. I think
109.
they're both down over 100 feet.
Yeah.
I have to go
Yep.
back and look at my notes, but
Yeah, just over 100 feet down. And they found nothing. I mean, they were just finding in situ. Does somebody have a bird? I think somebody's squeezing a bird, chewing a bird.
no, that's the pup running around the house with his toy in his mouth.
I knew what it was. Uh, so
He
GN,
does that all the time. He waits till when he's not supposed to be doing anything, and then the biggest, noisiest thing he can find. Guess what, Dad? We're back.
he's bored. You're
Yeah.
not petting him.
He's
So
about to
yeah.
find a board.
One thing I thought was interesting is that they were talking about the flooding of the garden shaft, and they mentioned 700 gallons per minute. That's an awful lot of water coming in there when it flooded last year. 700 gallons per
That's a pile of
minute.
water. That's a pile of water.
Hmm. Um, and they were asking the question, or I'm asking the question, did that come from a flood tunnel, or was that just from a space down there that's flooded from the flood tunnels? I guess would be, is that from a tunnel that wasn't supposed to be flooded, or did they actually hit a flood tunnel? Now,
Well, they say
one
it's
thing
salt.
that,
They say it's salt water, right?
yes, that's what he said last night. Was always that question: was it
Rick tasted
brackish?
it. Rick tasted it last year, whenever it was, and he said it was briny or whatever. But
Yeah,
yeah,
right. But tonight or last night, he said it was salt water.
hmm
So it has to be coming in from the flood tunnels, in my opinion, or water that's been in the flood tunnel or in that tunnel for a long
hmm
time. But he said something about also that it was great stuff to, even though they didn't hit anything and they didn't hit any voids or find any wood or anything like that,
hmm
they did say great stuff to tunnel in.
exactly, important.
Hmm.
Which is why you found a tunnel down there, probably, or those boards at least,
Right.
or they're
Exactly.
chasing a tunnel or whatever. I mean, it's not the news. It's not the news everybody wanted to hear,
No,
but it's still good news to the point that you know that there's stuff down there that you can tunnel through.
exactly.
Okay, so if it's not here, then look over there. I
Right.
mean, they've got, you know, 20 feet across there, 20, 30 feet across there they want to check out. So keep
Mhm.
looking.
Right. And you made a point earlier where you measured your recliner.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's kind of
Yeah,
funny
talk
this
about that
afternoon.
for a second.
I'm thinking, okay, so and I know Steve Guptill told me. He said, you know what, there's places down there you could hide all kinds of silver and gold, and we get joking with him, Henry and I, about how many holes they've drilled and everything
Hmm.
else. He goes,
Hmm.
there's places down there, man. I'm telling you could hide a small car. So this isn't a small car, but I just for fun today, I measured an armchair in my front room, and I said,
Hmm.
could I fit this armchair in a box that's 3 by 3?
Hmm.
And the answer is yes. Well, if you look at the grid that they grid off for that area, those grid boxes are 5 by 5. So you look at all the different places there, you can put a box that's 3 by 3.
Oh, wrong picture. That one.
Yeah. So look at the spaces there. You can put a box that's 3 by 3.
Yeah.
3 by 3 by 3, 27 square feet, right? And if it was solid silver, and we know it's not solid silver, but if it was silver, right? Solid silver, a 1 square foot, 1 cubic foot of silver weighs over 600 pounds.
600 pounds. So what would a 3 by 3 box of
So three
silver
by
weigh?
three would be 27 square feet.
Hmm.
Or cubic feet, sorry, 27 cubic feet.
Cubic feet. Yep.
All right. So you're talking almost 18,000 pounds, 9 tons of silver in a 3 by 3
9
box.
tons. Think about that. 9 tons of silver.
Tons.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, these are 2 by 5s,
2 by 5.
two and
Okay.
a half. Okay.
All right. Still room.
Yeah. So that means if you drilled right here and right here, the box could be sitting right there.
Mhm,
Or, if it's okay there. And you
mhm.
missed it. You missed it completely.
Yep. And that's only if it's a cubic box. What if it's like a treasure chest and it's standing on its end straight up?
Yeah.
If it's 4 feet long, two
Mhm.
feet wide, and a foot and a half thick. You know what
Right.
I mean? Doesn't have to be 3. I was just using it for my own sort of. I'm a visual person. I like to see things in perspective. I'm thinking, a box that size, you could hide it
Yep.
anywhere at any depth.
Yep. And even if
I
you hit a void
mhm,
but you could still miss the box
mhm,
if it was sitting in that void and it was a
yep,
3 by 3 box.
you go right by it.
Right. And by the walking of that darn, well, we'll get to that some more too as we go
Mhm,
along here. But the walking of that darn
mhm,
drill going down, I mean,
yep,
it sometimes walks over
mhm,
15 feet in
yeah,
a weird direction. So,
yep, yeah. Missed by a foot, missed by a mile.
yep. Yeah. Yeah. And then account for the drift. They could be right on top of it and miss it
Hmm.
by a foot. Exactly.
Yep. So
Thank
I
you.
say keep drilling.
Yeah. I see. Punch it, man.
Hmm.
Keep punching holes in there. As many as you can. They did
Yep.
400 in that one or well, I don't know. There was over 400 holes hit and they hadn't found it yet. I say keep punching holes. All right. So, chat, I hope you're ready for this because we're going to throw a question at you. I'm going to put up a picture and I'll try to zoom in on this. Actually, it's a slide, 4 slices, and we're going to put I'm going to ask you, what is the yellow item that the guy is carrying and hooking up here? So I'm going to bring up this picture and you do your best to see the first one who gets, I don't know what we're going to, you get an attaboy. How about that? You get an attaboy for being the first one who
You get bragging rights,
you get bragging rights. Yeah. All right.
which
What
is just
is
as
the
important as any prize.
right? What is the yellow item that this gentleman is hooking up? Do you see it there? You got 4 pictures of the same item right here, 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 and here. What is that item? And we've talked about this before a few times. A cap? Nope. Pot? Nope. Keep trying. So nope. It's not a locking cap. The grabber to pull the drill things. Nope. Nope.
Nope.
This is something that we've talked about. We talked about it last week, as a matter of fact, and we're going to talk about it again later on
It's
tonight.
the first time I've seen it used.
Yes,
I just happened to see it last night, and I went, "What the heck is that?"
Coupling? Nope. Boiler? Nope.
Mm.
Too small to be my phone. Sleeve? Nope. Well drill guide? Nope. Is that the gyro? Did Zane get it?
Did they say gyro? My goodness. Well, we have it on good authority. I won't say from who, but his last name starts with the first letter, it's the same as mine. And this is verbatim. It's the counter for the gyro. It's meant to go over the drill pipe and tighten the screws to hold it there, but we must clamp it in the jaws of the drill rig. There's 2 pulleys and the cable goes through it, and the counter shows us how much the cable has passed through. So that's what they use to measure the depth the gyro's at. So
no,
when they're taking their
not euros, Oni.
yeah. So
euros.
that's what they use. That's what they use to know where the measurements are coming from on the gyro.
Right, and this is the counter on the side of it. Right there is the counter. So yeah, well, I'm giving it to you, Zane. Even though you were asking the question and not telling us, you were asking.
Yeah, he thought he was playing the wrong game.
Yeah, yeah. So there you go. All right. So that is what it was. It is the gyro that they put down every 10 feet or so in there to measure where that drill is going off to. So there you go. Good job. All right. So we had to show that because we thought it was kind of fun. It was in last night's show. And I had missed it the first time. And then Tom saw it and sent me that picture, the ones you're looking at right there. And I was like, he's asking me, what is that? And I'm looking at it. And I'm like, oh man, that's what I had thought was the only thing I could think of was the gyro. And sure enough, that's what it is. So there you go. All right.
Now you know how they measure with the gyro.
Yes.
The depth at least, yeah.
Every 10 feet. So they know where that the drill bit is walking. Okay. Now, yeah, Eagle Eye Tom. He's got it. I'm telling you, he does. Always looking every time, it's hard when you're watching the show for when it's on at 9:00 on Tuesday night or Sunday. I don't know what time it's on for you guys in Canada on Sunday.
It's late. Yeah.
Yeah, it's late. But when it comes on, I'm the first time I watch it, I just want to watch it for the entertainment and the information that I'm getting. And then I watch it 1 or 2, maybe 3 more times to really start digging into it and looking in the background. And that's when you start to notice all these other little things. After I know what they're doing, I'm looking behind them. I'm looking in the money pit in the background and all that. Just try to pick out different stuff like that. And there you go, Tom.
Yeah. I watch it the first trip around for the little things in the background and the quotes. Because I know that Jan is going to give me all the detail in the morning, right? So I'm watching for the quotes. I'm watching for the reaction of the people, right? And that's usually what my notes are all about, is the reaction of the people, what the people are doing. Because I know Jan's going to give me all the play-by-play in the morning, so I don't have to worry about writing that down.
Tim, I think the answer to that, and this is my unofficial, untechnical answer, would be because the density of the soil or rocks. A rock, it might hit a rock and bump it a little bit, and then it just starts to head that direction a little bit. I think the more it walks, the harder the material it is going through. Yeah,
it pushes the pipe one way or the other.
Yeah, it deflects it.
It's like hitting a knot when you're trying to drill through a piece of wood and hitting a knot.
Yeah,
it's going to send you in another direction.
Yeah, the pole it's when you get that length out there like that, it's really going to deviate just simply because it's not that rigid. I think somebody said even the caisson does, and I can't hardly believe the caisson would.
It could, I'd say a little bit, but nothing like the drill.
Yeah, nothing like that.
I mean, they have directional drilling for oil rigs, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They put directional bits on oil rigs that go down literally thousands of feet, and then they, turn right here.
Yep.
And it's
So
on
yeah,
purpose.
that was. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, when they do those directional drillings, it's on purpose.
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
So that was it for the money pit. There wasn't a lot to it. A couple of
No,
holes they dug, and both of them were nothing but in situ. But I'm a little concerned that they didn't hit any water at all down there. I mean, there was no, at least
well,
not that they
yeah, I mean
showed us.
that's the good. I guess good news, bad news. Bad news is we really didn't find anything, but the good news
But
is we really did find some great places to dig tunnels,
yeah, right,
and we know there's a
exactly.
tunnel down there.
Yep. So next they jump over to the research center, and this part I really enjoyed because they got to a question that has been, or an item that has been bugging me since this. I would say the last 5 seasons of this show. Um, and Scott is the one who brought this up. So kudos to Scott because meeting and talk about Scott's plan to find the flood tunnels and try to block it once and for all. And Scott said, "Look, we really need to make a concerted effort on this." And this was, why I did the thumbnail the way I did, and also the first line of the title of the show is that I think they must block them. If they don't go with some sort of a driving iron pilings down around in a huge circle and dig out the center of it, i.e., making their own caisson or whatever, 100 feet in diameter. If they don't do something like that to block off the water or freeze it to block off the water, they're never going to be able to get down there and find this because chances are they're going to get hit by the same thing that everyone else has, i.e., the flood or the
Yep,
garden shaft.
and that's always the flooding has been a problem
For
forever. Now,
229 years.
now the thing 50 years ago, 100 years ago, you could pump those tunnels out at 700 gallons a minute. You didn't care. You could pump the water wherever you want.
Mhm.
But you can't pump 700 gallons a minute out of those tunnels, out of that garden
Mhm.
shaft now and put it wherever you want. The
Nope.
environmental rules won't let you.
Nope. They
So it's not
can't
a
do it.
matter of just handling the water, stopping the water. It's a matter of handling the volume of water. What are you gonna do with 700 gallons a minute when you take it out of that hole
Right. Exactly. And if they pumped it out now, they'd probably collapse the garden shaft.
without a way to back it up? Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
you're gonna flush it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if they don't do that, and that's something that I said a long time ago that they really needed to do a concerted effort to try to find and block the flood tunnels, or else, honestly, you might hit something down there with your drill program, but how are you going to get to it?
Hmm.
And it's already proven. The garden shaft is already proven. I grabbed this picture and put this up there because when they're doing this drilling and they're right there next to the garden shaft, man, it would seem like they've got to hit those tunnels. They were following this line all the way across here, this yellow line. They were following it and they were hitting water on every one. That's where they were getting some of their water samples from.
Hmm.
But now when they're drilling over here, they're not. They're just getting in situ. So I don't know.
Great place to put an offset chamber.
Great place to put an offset chamber indeed. Yes, indeed. So there you go. And here's a picture of that water flooding in there. That's a Gina. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's really nice of you. Thank you. Um, and so, yeah, here's a picture of that water when it was coming in and the flood tunnels that they need to find, desperately need to find, and get that taken care of. And this was a shot. This was the Restalls, and I believe this was
Yep.
down by Smith's Cove. This was the Restalls' attempt to go down there. They showed this on the program, so I'm assuming that's where they were working. This was when their attempt to go down and do something about the flood tunnels. And they found this underground. They found some wood, but they also found this layer of stone.
Yep.
And so they thought that they were pretty well convinced that they had found the flood tunnels. Now, the flood tunnels, and we'll get to this as we go along here, but Rick described it as large head-sized cobbles.
Hmm.
I understand how a French drain works, but um, it wasn't closed off at all. I mean, it wasn't in a.
Basically, it's a big ditch full of rocks.
A big ditch full. Yeah.
right? And then they cover it with the one we saw in the show was sort of the flat stones to keep
Hmm.
soil from going in.
Right.
But what it does is it allows water to keep flowing
Hmm.
without plugging up with earth.
Yeah.
It's like throwing crushed rock around the drain tile in your house.
Hmm. Yeah, and I've got that situation going on. We're putting a wall in our driveway. We're rebuilding the wall out there, and we had to put the drain, the rock, the crushed rock, and the drain
Hmm.
behind it, so the water has somewhere to go.
Hmm.
3 tunnels, 84 shafts, 1,000 boreholes, 11 caissons, 1 cave-in pit, and a partridge in a pear tree. Nice, say
Partridge
that.
in an oak tree.
Yeah, in an oak tree. Yes. Oh yeah. This was the drawing that was done by the Restalls, showing where the drain convergence was, in their opinion, where they were drilling down, or where they were working, and they were in there trying to put in. They were trying to do their attempt to block them off, um, and I guess they were pouring concrete in there, and
Pour
like again,
concrete in. Yep.
yeah. And this was the idea behind it. Here you can see the flood tunnel, and then them drilling down here in this tunnel above, or making a tunnel coming down there, and then putting in this barrier of concrete to block it off. Um, is it that simple now? I don't know. Um,
The thing that tells me though is, in order before you start pumping concrete, wouldn't you
Thank
have to
you,
find
John.
the flood tunnel?
Yeah, yeah.
So did they find the flood tunnel if they started pumping concrete,
They
or did
they
they find
believe
a
they did.
tunnel?
They found, yeah, they found that cobble, and in those pictures
Hmm.
here, I think that those were from the time. I think these are the old pictures.
Mm.
That they found the cobble here, and then they found some wood and whatnot. So they were pretty well convinced that they had found
Yeah.
the
Well,
the
we
flood
found
tunnel.
we found the old Dunfield map last night that showed the location where it said actually that the Restalls had pumped concrete.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think I don't know that I've got a copy of that
Mm.
here. I think I have one, but I'll have to see if I can pull that up.
I can post it on the page later. People can
This
see.
this one, this one is pretty unique, and this one was done by, was this Bobby? Did Bobby do this one,
This
or?
one, yeah, that was Bobby, I think. Yep.
Uh-huh. And you can see it right here. This was the convergence right there. The problem for Rick and Marty and them is the fact that that convergence point is at high tide, the high tide level, and so they can't. Um, they can't. But Rick
You
said they had
can't.
to have a special permit.
You got to stay above the high water mark.
Yeah, so that's why they went over here to the other
No,
side of the road,
no ifs, ands, or buts. You cannot go below that high water mark.
right? So they came over here to the other side of the road to do their digging and look for the flood tunnel and see what they could do with it. Always permits, I know, right?
Mhm.
So, um, then there was this one. They had shown this real quick of a kind of an overlay of the Restall drawing over top of the actual island, and
Yeah.
showing where the flood tunnel went straight to the money pit. So you kind of get a better look at it. It actually was a little darker. I grabbed this one as it was transitioning so you could see it a little bit better. But again, they got the cave-in pit in there. But there's
Still
all these
amazing,
other
for these guys not being surveyors, to have these maps, and I know that they're not 100% accurate, right?
tunnels.
But I mean, they're pretty friggin' close.
They are. They really are. I was pretty amazed by that.
Mm.
So he's working your thing there, Zane. He's doing the overlays for you. So,
Mhm.
and I guess the red dot is where they're digging.
I
So
would say, yeah.
yeah. Here's where they get the excavator down there. The short one first to start the plan, to start the digging. And here's the process of it working and going through and starting the dig. And a couple of interesting pictures in here where they're digging. And I grabbed just a few of these to run through as we're looking. Take note of these trees right here. We're gonna in the next couple pictures you'll see why I mentioned that. Here they are, and this is another look at it. And this is something that Tom had pointed out to me. Look at what they've added. You can see that layer right here.
That's the crushed rock that they brought in to build the platform for when they put in the
How thick that
cofferdam.
is. That's what, 3
Yep.
feet thick?
It's got to be at least 3 feet. Look, compared to the guy standing next to him.
Yeah, 3 to 4 feet thick.
At least.
And it's look at this piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right
I would not want to be hanging around. I can see why the next day they said it's raining. They can't work down there. Yeah, I can see why.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad that they're doing this though. I really am because it's high time that they were doing. And I hope over the course of the next couple episodes we're going to see some good results from this as well, rather than well, we dug down there and that's it. Now they're moving back to the money pit or somewhere else. No, I want to see what you found. And were you able to accomplish, or at least think you accomplished, blocking this thing off? You're going through this effort to do it. Let's see the results of it. I'm really hoping it works because, like I said earlier, if you don't, you're wasting your time in the money pit, in my opinion. I mean, doing your drill program, good, all well and good, but trying to get down there. This was a picture that you got your top is current.
That's the current one. Yep. And that's the one from when they were digging and they were putting in the coffer dam.
Okay. And this is why I said to look at where they are, because they've been here before.
They're literally only feet away.
Yeah. So here's
that's where they found that. You got another picture there too, where they found the tunnel.
Yep. Yeah, I do. It's coming up here in just a second. So there's your trees. This time they're here, just below the trees, and this time they were right next to
the road, everything. It's all right there. Yeah.
Yep.
There's no question they're in the same vicinity as that tunnel.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can see it. You can see it very well here. Here's the trees right there, and they're right next to it. And over here, which would have been here, well, probably in that area right there is where they were digging before. And now they're digging down here. And if that line is going straight to the money pit, then I think they found it already. I would think. I don't know how much attention they were paying to the cobble, the head size rocks last time when they were digging this other one. I don't know.
Yeah, see, there's been so much damage done down there over the years that I just, he's down probably 30 feet. When they hit this cobble last night, they're down in the 30-foot range, which would be normal. But I mean, you're still 30 feet below sea level.
Right.
And if you're building a tunnel, would you be 30 feet deep at that time from, going on a downgrade from sea level? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Here's a look at the Dunfield dig versus what they're doing this last summer. The Dunfield dig, I mean, look at that, folks. I mean, that he tore up Smith's Cove.
Yep. And you see the U-shaped structure at the bottom.
He really tore up Smith's Cove. And it made me think about this and looking at what Dunfield had done to it. And then they found, remember when they found the lead cross? The lead cross was found in Smith's Cove, right? And it wasn't very deep.
Well, he found this metal detector. They dug it with a shovel. So
right. So is it possible that thank you, Craig. And I saw Carolyn earlier. Thank you both very much. I appreciate that. It really helps to keep this going. Do you see the cave-in pit right there? And he tore this up big time. So what is it possible that lead cross was actually pushed or dug up by Dunfield and pushed into place by him as he was doing when he bulldozed it all back on and smoothed it all out? But
a lot of destruction down there.
Lots of destruction. You got the slipway down here that they found, the U-shaped structure. Yeah, boy. So I guess the point is they've been here before. Researchers have. One more picture, and this is the one from when they dug down there. And this is when you're looking at it from the other direction. Rick got in the bucket, was lowered down into the hole. They put a camera on it and went down in there with the camera on the end of the bucket and put it down there. And you saw, matter of fact, I think, is that Marty? Is that Marty right here when he was
right there? Yeah.
Yeah. He was looking down there to see what he could see. And he said, "Oh, I see the tunnel down there. The collapsed tunnel looks like it's going that way." And he was pointing towards the money pit.
Yeah. Because you get the cable on him. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's Marty with the harness on being held.
That's when he said, and tell Billy he's done. He's undermined.
Yeah. He's undermining already right here.
Yeah. Tell him he's done. Yeah.
Yep. So that gets you a better idea of where they were
Did
digging. There's
Dunfield
those
build the
trees.
causeway? Yes, he did.
Yes. Yep, he did. Here's Rick. He's talking to Gary there, and he's talking about those head-sized boulders, and they did find a bunch. And it wasn't until they got down to that level that you were just talking about,
Mm.
Tom, where they found those. And here they are. Here's some of them
Yep.
here, and they all came up in like 1 or 2 buckets at a certain level. About, well, I guess it was about 30 feet down. Is that what they
30
said?
feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that excavator there last night, they said will reach 60 feet. So if
Hmm.
he's in one length of that arm, he's down pretty close, 25, 30 feet.
Yep. And they also saw this down there, and it looks like that's definitely disturbed. I don't think that's down well below where Dunfield would have gotten with his bulldozer.
See,
So this
Dunfield
wouldn't
also
have,
uses clam digger down there too.
did he?
He put his crane down there, yeah, in different places and dug.
Yeah, I wonder
How
what
deep
he.
he went, I don't know, but I
Yeah,
know he was down there with his crane too.
yep. You can see something. I don't know exactly what this is. This thing right here.
That's what
But
I'm
you
saying.
can
If you
see.
get into Smith's Cove, you better find something that's in situ and just not laying there loose.
Yep. Um, yeah. And this is one of the pictures that got me was Rick and his daredevilness about him. He just doesn't care to. He's standing there on the edge of that, and then look where he's at.
Yeah, not
And you
me.
saw
Sorry.
that picture I showed a few minutes ago of where the ground is
Hmm.
breaking off and falling in. He's very close to that.
Yeah,
There it
not
is.
gonna
Here,
happen.
look. Yeah, here's the crack. This
He's
is
not,
a whole.
and he doesn't look like he's even wired up.
No, he's not. He doesn't have a harness on.
Mhm.
Ah, Rick. But that's probably what I would have done too. I can't
I
say
mean, just
anything
the
about it.
vibration of that machine, if he moves that machine, could cause that
Yeah,
gravel to collapse.
absolutely. Oh, he's fine. He's Rick. Yeah.
Hmm. He'll
um,
find the tunnel, dig his way out.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And then they found the concrete. And this picture here, uh, Tom worked on this one and sent
Mm.
it over. Pattern on the side of it. Now, if that's the case, is that is that the concrete that was poured in there by the Restalls? I mean, they talked about the Restalls pouring concrete in there, and then the fact that it didn't set up. Some of it didn't set up well and got washed away before it had a chance to set up.
Mm.
It does look like diamond print, doesn't it? Or diamond, yeah.
Well, it looks like what we would refer to as a patio stone.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
It is. Look how in thickness. It's
Uh-huh.
totally. Now, the only way it would be uniform, in my opinion, is if they had gone down as the diagram showed, and they had put two small, what they thought would be wooden partition type walls, and they pumped
Uh-huh.
it full of concrete, and that's the pressure from the rough cut lumber on the outside. I don't know, but to me, if it was just poured into raw ground, that would
It's
be
not
full
going
of
to look like it.
rocks and dirt, and it wouldn't be uniform. It would look like a Bigfoot
Right.
footprint, right?
Yep. And if you poured it inside of a form, which I think the other side, I was trying to look at pictures of how they were holding it and seeing if it had that pattern. From what I could tell, it looked to me like the pattern was on both sides, which means they would have made whoever did this made a form and poured the concrete into the form,
Exactly.
which is the way to do it, you
Mhm.
know. But again, I did the best I could to try to see because they kept showing different sides of that, and I was hoping it wasn't always the same side I was seeing with the pattern on it,
Mhm.
but it looked like both of them had it. This was the concrete that they had found in Smith's Cove years ago when they dug it out, they had
Yeah.
the
Look how
coffin
rough that
handle.
is.
Yeah, this looks like it was poured in dirt because you can see how, like Tom just said, look how rough it is.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, Renee, this is that wall that they found with the pipe sticking out of it. Now, who
Mhm.
put this one in?
I'm not sure who put that one. Was see the plastic PCB pipe?
Yeah, there's
I
two
almost
pieces
think it
of
was a
pipe.
Restall deal where they were trying to pump. They were trying to pump stuff at the top
Mhm.
down into the Smith's Cove, but that's just a rumor I'd heard. I don't know.
Anybody out? Did anybody have an idea of who poured this one? Did
I
they
can
did they
I can go
ever
back and look,
say who
but
they
I
thought it
can't.
was? I don't remember them ever saying
It
who
was
they
either
thought.
Dunfield or someone pre-Dunfield, but keep in mind they're using plastic PCB pipe too.
Oh,
So
that doesn't go back that far.
no,
How long has that plastic pipe been around? I don't know. Here's also what they found. Now, this was out, by the
It's almost by the
property.
cofferdam.
Yeah,
It's almost all the way. That's quite a wall right there.
yeah. I don't recall them saying either, Renee. I don't either. Yeah, U-shaped structure is close, and here's more concrete out there
Mhm.
that they found. I think that is.
Yep, that's concrete. Oh yeah, if you zoom in on it, folks. I'll tell you where you find those pictures if you're looking for them. Oak Island Archaeology. That's Laird Nevin's Facebook site.
Mhm.
Laird's got a site called Oak Island Archaeology, and you can go on there, and he's got a ton of pictures from Smith's Cove. He's got the U-shaped structure, the measurements, close-up pictures of the wood, how it's constructed, everything.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah. Renee says PVC pipe since 1930. So
Yep.
plastic pipe since then. Yeah.
Somebody was trying to pump something from somewhere, and that's the way they
Yep.
were hiding it. Yeah.
Yeah. And some of the wood that came up out of that hole was interesting that they got. And again, this was down about, we assume it was down about 30 feet or so. And some of this wood that they pulled up, and they were talking about maybe the Restalls were repurposing wood that they found from a structure or something. And why wouldn't you? You know, they've dug up a lot of wood from the money pit, and if you needed wood and you had boards, you could just reuse them, right?
Mm-hmm.
PVC was first used in Germany in 1872. Wow.
There you go.
Holy cow. We noticed, or Tom did, and noticed these lines on here. You can see the line that it's, excuse me, on the wood here. And this one here, this line here coming across, and it looks like it has, is that wire or cable?
It keeps on going right around it. So it's some kind of a string or cord or wire. The other one I couldn't tell, depending on which light you look at it, whether it's a cut in the wood
or on top of the wood,
or whether it's a piece of wire laying on top of it or cable.
Originally found sticking out of that crude early rubber, a form of early rubber. Yeah, maybe. I'm gonna have to go back and look at that.
It could be rubber. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember what they had said, what their conclusion of that was. And then the shovel. That's a good sign, right? I mean,
what the heck?
You dig down there and you find a shovel.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly they're up to the south, I would say, from where the Restalls had dug, supposedly. Mm-hmm. So they found a shovel down there?
Check that, baby. There'd be some kind of a mark on it.
Yeah, look and see if there's a, what'd you
Home
say?
Hardware or Kent's or something.
Kent's Hardware? How long has Kent's Hardware been in
property
operation?
of Rick Lagina? I don't know.
Yeah, or something, yeah. But yeah, a shovel.
Maybe they're like hockey sticks. Once you break them, you have to throw them away. You can't use them anymore.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I've saved the actual metal part of the shovel and got a new handle and put them in before. But yeah, it's a modern looking shovel, Carol. You're right. Yeah. It is. So I mean,
I wonder if it was left over from when they were digging down there. When they had the cofferdam in.
Yeah. Yep. Maybe. Ricky Restall's shovel. Maybe. I don't know. Could be. Made in China. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? But that's a good sign that you're looking in a good spot. Somebody's been in there working. So, well, hopefully we're going to get some answers from what they were doing there in Smith's Cove. I really, really hope that they are successful in at least partially blocking off the water or something with all this effort that's going on. But I got to say, thank you, Scott Barlow, for being the one to talk them into doing this, because it should have been done years ago.
Yeah.
You've got this issue with flooding, and one of your main things you need to do is stop the flooding. So hopefully they'll have some success. We shall find out. So next time we jump over to lot 4, and again, going through the spoils of what was taken out of lot 5. Somebody said a couple tons worth of spoils were taken out of there.
I forget what they said now. Yeah, it was like 10 tons or something. I forget what it was now.
Yeah. I think let's see. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, 10 tons. That's what they said. 10 tons of spoils. Looking at Jan's notes.
Oh, they're just right in the very top line. Yeah, thanks, Jan.
Mm-hmm. We're from the round feature lot 5. And Gary begins scanning over there with Craig this time, and they find that button that they showed in the preview for this week. So they found the button, and then they found that piece of lead, a lead weight, and he called it a coin weight. they immediately took these over to the lab, got them looked at with Emma and her magic machines that she has over there. And yeah, thanks, Janice. She got it in there 10 tons. Um, and found their composition and everything. And she said that the button was probably the mid 1600s to the mid 1700s, based upon its makeup of the metals in there, and the other piece, which was lead. Whoops! Oh, I didn't get a picture of it. Which was lead, um, and that piece, she said it was too new, or she said it was coming up, showing it relatively new to her. It weighed 26.2 grams, and thought that it was kind of more modern because of the phosphorus content.
Hmm.
But she said she doesn't have a real good way of testing that. So it's a good idea that they go and get it laser ablation done
Yeah,
on it.
it was kind of interesting to hear Laird say that the archaeologists and the scientists kind of disagree a little bit on this one.
Yep, exactly.
Mhm.
Now, the other thing too with this is that, and I wrote this down, that one day they stopped using the transition between lead to brass weights was about 1066.
Mm.
So either somebody is using something that's really old still in more modern times after 1066, or this really goes back a long
Yeah.
way.
And remember, we were talking about, how did they get this stuff all off the circular structure over to lot 4? Why didn't they use the trowel, et cetera, et cetera?
Mhm,
There was a segment where Laird was showing the top part of those lot 5 features that he just called fill.
mhm.
So that's that part that I think they just come in and they just scooped it all off because they
Yep.
consider it just to be surface fill.
Right.
And that's what they dumped over on lot 4.
Yeah, because of all the sifting they were doing, they would have found these things.
Yep.
If they were sifting every bucket that came out of there from the very start, they would have found I
Yep.
mean, here's a picture of it right here. I mean, while they were doing that sifting, they would have come across
Mhm.
these items, so they wouldn't have missed them.
Yep.
Not very likely. So they're going to get that piece of, they were talking about the weight of that 26.2 grams, and they were talking about, wow, that was a weighted a large coin. Well, I was thinking it'd be a group of coins. Maybe that was like the paymaster, and it
Yeah.
was just my guess, my little speculation on my own,
Mhm.
talking about a paymaster. He would use that and then put in the coins on the other side of the scale to equal the weight of that, and go, that's your pay for the week or for the month or whatever. You know, um, yeah, awfully close to a full ounce. Yeah,
I was just gonna figure out what that was. It's an
yeah,
ounce.
point
So
nine
yeah.
two four. Thank you,
Yep.
Lisa.
So it's an ounce. Yep.
Appreciate that. We got people that are on the ball, man.
There
I'm
we go.
telling you, that's what we don't know everything.
So
That's
1 ounce
why.
coin. I mean, we still use 1 ounce coins. Gold is still sold in 1 ounce coins to this day.
Mhm. Yep, exactly. So, Butcher's Texas Farm. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mm.
So there you go. That was pretty much the episode. There was not a lot to it. I mean, I'm glad, like I said earlier, I'm glad to see that they're working in Smiths Cove.
Yep.
I'm glad to see that they're working on blocking off these flood tunnels, because that is a must do.
Hmm. Yep.
It
Then
really
they
truly is.
went to the war room. Of course, they called to stop on the drilling, but that's
Yeah, they did. They got Ian in there. They were talking about that. You want to talk about that for a minute, real
no.
quick? Or?
I mean, I'm not there. I don't know. I'm not the guy on the scene.
Mhm.
He talked about the results basically not being there now is the impression I got from it. Like
Mhm.
the results just aren't there, and they think it's because of the result of the drilling, et cetera, et cetera.
But
And they want to stop until it recovers. I'd say no. Me, keep drilling.
absolutely,
Keep drilling. Okay, guys, we can't do it any harm. We already know. We've already established scientifically that the results are there. The fact that they're not there now is the result of what we're doing now, or maybe they had a collapse last week, the rumble down under.
yes,
To me, keep drilling.
yeah. I
Keep
think that
drilling. And
rumble,
if you got to let it settle over the winter, let it settle over the winter.
right? That booming that Ian heard, that he was talking about, the booming that was coming from down below in the ground in the money
Mhm.
pit, right there around Avante, while he was
Mhm.
testing that, could that have been what really mixed it up? Because if they're drilling down over there in GN, what was it, FN 15.5
Yep.
and GN 16, they're hitting dirt. They're not
Mhm.
hitting water.
Could they have loosened the subsurface deep enough that they had another collapse like they did back in 18 or whatever? And that's why the silver's gone.
Yes, they could have.
You know,
They could have.
like I say, a little 3x3 box,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah, and
ton,
yep, the 3x3 box, you could miss it easily when you're down
and
100
it's
feet,
heavy.
and it's heavy. Yep. One thing I wanted to point out too, what Laird had said, and I'm going to read this quote, and this was talking about Lot 5. We've never, at least in my opinion, I haven't heard him be this specific about stuff. He said, I think he was referring to Lot 5. He said, I think what we are finding now supports several of the theories that tie the deposition of something on Oak Island by British military.
Yep.
Now, that British military, as Tom pointed out to me when we were talking about this,
hmm
could include who we're going to talk about in just a few minutes,
hmm
Phipps and Belcher.
Yeah.
So we're
But
going to
first,
jump over there in a minute. Real quick, I want to talk about next week's show next time on the Curse of Oak Island. I'm pretty excited about this next show because it's got some interesting things in here. One was Jan Franke coming out. Now, Jan, if you guys, any of you watch, he's been out there before, but he was Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. He makes his own GPR devices. This guy is a fantastic engineer. He knows what he's doing. And so he came out and he put this particular, he called it a radar. When he was talking about this, he called it radar. I ground in the ground radar.
ground penetrating radar, right? GPR. So instead of going across, they're going vertical, I guess.
Yeah, I guess they're putting it down a pipe. Now, one thing too I wanted to point out was, remember when we were looking at all those boreholes that they had on the whiteboard, and after it said 2-inch, 3-inch, or whatever. I think that's these pipes, these PVC pipes that they left in the ground.
Yeah,
I think that's what that meant. But Jan and Craig are there, and they're putting this. They're putting this.
I would love to know if that's the one that Spooner heard the rumble through.
Oh, well.
It's in that same general area.
But it is in the same general area, but he did say which one it was. I did catch it.
Vante's got marked, but there's nothing marked on the pipe. It's not. They've taken the cap off the pipe.
Correct. But here was his ground penetrating radar. Here's the sheet showing the anomaly, which he's calling a void. But look what it says right here. HN16. So it's HN16 is the hole that they're in. And that was the one that I had pointed out when I was showing the grid work, and Zane reminded us that it's 2.5 feet per grid. So HN16, which is inside the golden egg, it's right there. Now, when they started this at HN16 on the grid, look how far it went over.
Oh yeah, and there's a Vante over in the left.
So that'd be 5.
It's not the one Spooner was in.
7.5 feet. I said it was 15, but if it's 2.5 feet per grid, then that's 7.5,
7.5, 8 feet, 7.5, 8 feet. Yeah.
Yeah, 8 feet away. It walked 8 feet at least. But so when they started off, and they were in the golden egg when they started off, and by the time they got down, this would be probably about, I was counting these circles. This would be about 100 feet. And so they went on down even further. Now, what did he say about that? He said that there was that void or whatever was a couple of feet away from it, just a couple of feet. So whatever this void was that he found, let me get back to this other picture that he found here, was only a couple of feet away from where the pipe, the PVC pipe goes down, which is so. He was guessing they put this. This is where the cursor was, right there. So pretty close. That's what Tom was talking about earlier. If that was the void, they just missed it.
Mm-hmm.
Now does that answer the question as why they punch so many holes in there in the Swiss cheese of the money pit?
Mm-hmm.
I think it does.
Lots of room there.
Lots of room there. Yeah. 127 feet down from the surface. This is what Jan said. Jan Frankie said 127 feet from surface to the void. He found a void down there. He called it a discrete object about 3 to 4 feet from the borehole. Okay, so 3 to 4 feet would be a little, maybe it would be over a little further than that. But again, 3 to 4 feet, you just missed it. But I tell you what, having Jan come out there with that is, I think it's a great idea. Now they got to jump over where they think that is and drill another hole. But if it walks that far in 127 feet to get down that far,
I don't know.
It's like a crapshoot.
And keep in mind too that at 127 feet deep, they're 100 feet below sea level.
Yeah, exactly. How can you this one didn't walk that much, maybe only a foot or two, but some of them 8 feet. I mean, come on, that's terrible. It really truly is. I mean, how would you ever know? I don't know. It's got to be so difficult to try to, but they got to try. If there's a void there, they got to try to hit it.
They got to try something. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, well, that wraps up that Curse of Oak Island show. Again, didn't have a lot of big gangbuster, blockbuster stuff on it, but we'll see. Like I said, I am glad that they're finally working on trying to find the flood tunnels. That's a huge point.
Yep.
Oh,
I mean, every little bit of knowledge helps, right?
Yeah, a couple more pictures I just saw that I had in there. They do get down and they find cobble. They did find wood down there. And what's this junk? Look at this claw or material hanging down here.
Looks like canvas or something.
Like they're working in a garbage pit or something.
Canvas or tarp or something.
Yeah. So that's the end of that. So we'll see. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to seeing Jan out there and what he discovers. I think that that this guy, he is super smart, and I'm really, really, really curious to see what he's going to come up with on this one. All right, let me get this off of here. So we're going to jump over and talk a little bit about Tales from Oak Island.
Could do a draw first.
Oh yes, we are going to do the draw.
Linda will get mad.
She will get mad. We don't want that to happen. Hey, Linda.
Thank heavens there's Tom.
I know, to remind me of these things, right?
You got to have a program. Without the program, you're lost.
Right.
Yep, I know, right?
This is intermission.
All right, so let's go over this real quick. And I know I hate to keep repeating like Oak Island does to you folks all the time. I'm sorry, but for those people that might be new to the podcast, here we
people are new to the show.
I know, and I get so tired of the repeating of the XRF and the XRD. We know how they work, whatever.
That's how they pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Right.
So we got 2 giveaways tonight, and there is this book here. Doug Simmons is being donated by Linda. She bought the book, and she's donating Doug's newest book. So we got that, and then we also have, I think, this keychain here, and this was by Michelle Tomeyer.
Yes.
Michelle donated.
So excited.
Yep. So I got that right. So to be eligible for the giveaway, you need to be a member of our Facebook group page, The Curse of Oak Island and Beyond, Skinwalker Ranch. There's a link for it down in the description below. You need to be a member. Linda will put out a post that says showing a picture of the following week's giveaways. All you have to do is comment on there saying yes. That's it. Just say comment yes. That puts you in the drawing for the giveaways. Now, you must be present at the podcast right here, right now to win. We're going to pick a name from the spinner, and then we will. Yeah, I know I'm getting good at saying her name now, right? So we'll pick the winner, and you will.
Now that you can say, you're not going to stop.
Yeah, right. We'll give you about a minute to say you're here, and then if not, we'll have to spin again, and we'll go on. And then when this is all done, we will move on to Tales of Oak Island. All right. And you said something about one winner per the season until the final episode.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
If you win during the season, then you don't enter again until the finale.
Okay. All right. Then we'll have a good one for that.
That's like our big rule. You have to be here and you don't get to win twice.
Right. All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. You're in solo layout. Let's get that spitter going.
Okay. Let me turn up the sound.
Oh, a lot of names in there. Holy cow.
Yes.
Some names I recognize. Oh, just past Jeff. Oh, Charlotte Wallace. Charlotte Wallace, are you here? Let us know if you're here, Charlotte. Get about a minute. We'll bring us. So while we're waiting to see, here. Huh? Is that Charlotte under a different name?
Says here.
I have no idea.
It's hard to
YouTube
prove that it's Charlotte when
There's Charlotte.
There we go.
I'm here. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, congratulations, Charlotte. If you will send me a private message with your address, I will get this in the mail to you unless you live in Canada. Mavis understands because her prize from last week is still sitting on my desk. There's no mail in Canada right now, so I can't
go back
get
to
it
using
to you if
dog
you live
sleds, I
there.
think.
Yeah. Dog sleds, that'll work, right?
Yep.
Right. But we'll get it to the border, and Tom could drive to the border, and we'll
There we
toss
go.
it to
Hey,
him.
yeah, we can do
I
something
could
like
hook up
that.
my dogs to their wagon, and
How
Right.
far is your place from the U.S. border?
hour and a half.
Hour and a half. That's not bad. That's not bad.
That's not bad.
Actually, Jeff Irving lives closer than me. We could
Oh,
get him
Jeff
there.
Irving. Yeah, he
Oh,
does.
yeah, we
He's
could
about
have
20 minutes.
Jeff meet us at the border.
Yeah. Hook us up.
Then he could go down in the Bay of Fundy, put it in a bottle, and let it float.
See which way it
Canada
goes.
Post is on strike, Sharon,
Yeah. Yep, they are.
since November 15th.
Yep. All right. Okay. So let's move on. Congratulations, Charlotte.
Yep.
You're going to enjoy that book. All right.
Thanks.
So, yep, we are going to jump over. I grabbed this one picture here. I just love this one. Oh man, Foggy Oak Island. That is such a cool picture, and that's looking east. So that's the sunrise. That's Apple Island out there. Is this Apple right here? I think the one next to
Not
it.
sure.
But yeah, just a wonderful picture. I thought that this particular episode I thought all of them have been great. I really, really do. We talked about this a little bit before we got started tonight, or as we were getting started, and talked about how these have been so informative. And I think this one was another one that just knocked it right out of the park. We do hear a lot about Phipps, and I know that I was one of the people complaining about hearing about Phipps all the darn time. But this particular episode took us deeper into Phipps and also Scott Clark and his theory with Phipps, which the guys on the island said, and I agree with, is one of the most plausible with evidence theories that are out there.
I don't think there's any doubt that Scott's work fits that late 1600s timeline.
Right.
We think there was more than one person or persons or parties or peoples there, but if for one of the individuals to be involved, I mean, he fits.
He does.
Phipps fits. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Yeah. Say that 3 times fast.
No, that was a job just to do that.
So what I liked about this, and I do have a couple pictures, but they're mainly of the maps and stuff like that. Which if you have a Scott's book, all this is in there. There it is right there. Oak Island Odyssey by Scott Clark. A Mason.
Excellent book.
It is a very good book.
And they talk about the detail on the maps last night and the clues that are on the maps and things like that. They're all in here.
Yep.
You can look at them up close and personal yourself instead of trying to figure them out off a TV screen. They're there with the explanations, the arrows, everything. So excellent book.
Yep, it really is. Now, Phipps was born in 1651. He died in 1695 at 44 years old. Now he was the person, and they talked about his life growing up and how he got seafaring, on different ships and learned from all these people as he was going through. And again, it's a very good episode. I think you should watch that if you like all this stuff. But he was credited for originally finding the Concepcion. That was one of the Spanish galleons that sank, and he found it.
What's
And
crazy is it sank 10 years before he was born.
yeah, yeah.
It sank in
10 years before he was-
1641. He was born in
Yep.
1651.
Yep. He made 2 trips to find it. He found it on the second one. It was like 4 years later. He went back, that part was. He went back a second time. He found it the second time, and somebody had noticed a cannon in the water. And so they went and they drove on it, without a breathing apparatuses. They just went ahead and dove
Free
on it.
diving, yeah.
Yes, free diving. And they were able to come up with 34 tons of silver. Now, Tom and I were just talking about earlier how much silver that is. And I was thinking, how could the boat, sail with all that? Obviously these big ships, that they had would be able to. How much was in your 3x3 box?
9 tons.
9 tons. So they
So
had
now keep in mind now, if you're talking about relative measurements,
Mhm.
so we talk about 34 tons of silver in these large English cargo warships, whatever you want to call them. Okay, a Viking sailing ship
Mhm.
would have 16 tons of ballast stone in the bottom of it.
There you go. Yeah. A
That's
Viking one.
That's just a ballast stone,
Mhm.
right? Or Norse ship, let's call it, right? They'd have 16 tons in the bottom, up over your knees, the
Mhm.
whole length of the ship, have nothing but rocks. So to carry back 34 tons, yeah, it's a lot of weight, but could a ship haul it? Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously did. So 34 tons of silver on his first return, which they said was about 205,000 pounds, English pounds, money, which equated to about 50 million in American dollars at the time. Or now, I think that was now.
50 million now. Yeah.
Now, right.
Which is about right. Yep.
Right. He took that back, got praised for it, and everything was great. He wanted to get right back, but he was not able to get back for about 4 years. And he came back the second time, and lo and behold, he wasn't able to bring back anything more than 10,000 pounds of not money, but pound weight, 10,000 pounds of silver the second time. Now, his excuse was that there was all kinds of ships there that had, they already got it, and we were able to not recover as much as we wanted. They got away with some of it, but
Right.
as you heard Doug Krause say, he didn't believe that.
No.
uh, too much evidence, to say that he found more than that, and we kind of talked about this before. That if you were somebody who was going back to get this treasure and bring it back, and pirates being pirates, privateers being privateers, and you were going back a second time to get some of this, would you pilfer a little? Would you scrape a little off the top for yourself?
Would you hire a guy named Belcher?
Would you hire a sailor named Belcher to help you out? So as the story goes, and it is a very good story, they showed the maps of the and this map that Scott Clark had found shows where he found the ship right there.
Mm-hmm.
It says, Phipps, William Phipps, plate rack. Now, the rack
Plata.
was
Yeah.
wreck.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Silver. Plata is silver.
Plata is silver, rack is wreck.
Mm-hmm.
So silver wreck. And so they had it right down there in the Bahamas, where it was, right off of Cuba, in that area. So that's where they found it. And then they had the island. Oops, went the wrong way. Up at Port Royal. Now, where's Port Royal? Port Royal is in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
And
Port
they
Royal
had,
is what they call the Annapolis Valley now. It's on the other side of the island.
yep.
But
Yep.
that's why it's up in the upper left. But he was in Port Royal. Phipps did visit Port Royal, but where the La Plata is marked is over on La Have side, the Oak Island side, Mahone Bay side.
Yeah. And so they've got this little dot marked La Plata. Now, why would they mark this little dot out here, little island right off the coast of Nova Scotia, and call it La Plata?
The silver.
The silver. Who made the map? Do we know who drew this map? Was it Phipps?
I don't know. It was Phipps or somebody associated with him. Yeah.
Anybody know? Because I just saw that
Sure.
Kat asked that question, and I didn't catch that. I didn't write it down. If anybody knows in the chat, throw it out there if you're sure. But anyway, so you got those two right there. So you got the wreck, silver wreck, and then you got La Plata up here, and he was in the area up in Nova Scotia, and he had hired or was working with Belcher.
Charles Morris drew the maps, 1762.
Ah, there you go. Was that in the book?
It's in the book. Gotta get the book, man. I'm telling you. You gotta have the book.
That's what she said. That's what Kat said. I'll look in the book. I'll look at Scott's book. He already did. He beat you to it. So there you go. I mean, a couple of things like that. Now, that's not all. But going back with his theory here about this is that they had brought all this up. Now, in this letter, and this letter is from August 31st of 1688. Now, this is well before the money pit was ever found out. 100 years later.
100 years. Yep.
Yep, 100 years later. A little more then. So they had this letter was talking about the work with Andrew Belcher. And there is his name right there in this letter. And he was talking about, in the letter, it talks about how he was, I have imprisoned 8 men supposed to be I have in prison 8 men supposed to be pirates. So he was working with pirates, or he's in prison with pirates.
Well, the thing back then is you went from pirate to commissioned government worker by one letter of marque, right?
Yep.
You know, you just said, okay, now you're no longer, supposedly keeping this all for you, that the crown gets a share and you get a share, right? So you went from pirate to privateer,
Yep.
Done.
Now, what it was is he was in the area of Nova Scotia with 2 ships. There was 2 ships, I guess. And they talk about one of them. And here in this letter still, they burnt the ship at Port La Barre.
Port La Barre, yeah.
Port La Barre. And Port La Barre is supposedly very close to Oak Island. Now, why would you burn a ship? You wanted to hide it?
You don't need it.
You don't need it. You want to hide it. You don't want anybody knowing about it. So there's the one tie to the area. So if he did scrape some off the top and decided that he wanted to keep some for himself, he needs to hide it and sit on it for a little while. Why not go to Nova Scotia? Now, why Nova Scotia? Why a little island in Nova Scotia? Why would they know about this little island in Nova Scotia and have any intention of using it in the first place? How would they even know about it? Okay. This is where it gets a little bit deeper. And in Scott's book, he just explains all this very, very well by talking about, you've heard the whole story about Templars to Freemasons to Masons, and how that very well could have that one became the other with all their rituals and all their things. So if the Templar, and I still stick with that, if the Templar ever did come to Oak Island, that information would have been passed along very likely to senior officials of the Freemasons and the Masons. Not everybody's going to know that, but it seems as though a couple of people did, like Belcher, who was at the Grand Lodge of Freemasons. And his son, Jonathan, was the first American Freemason, and he was also a Harvard grad. The very first Grand Lodge, and one of the brothers of the lodge was Jonathan Prescott.
Yep.
And Jonathan Prescott was one of the first landowners on Oak Island. Charles
These
Morris,
guys all tied together.
they are all tied together. Charles Morris is the man who divided up Oak Island into the 32 4-acre lots.
Hmm.
And that was done in 1762.
And why is it the only island that was divided?
Of 300 plus islands, 300 to
Mhm.
400 islands in that area, why that one? Why is that the only one that was divided up into 4-acre lots?
And why 32 lots?
Yep.
Why 32 lots? I
And
mean,
why
to
32?
me, it's almost like they're gridding the place off because they know where stuff is.
Yeah. 32
No
and
different
30,
than an archaeologist going
32nd
in and
level
start.
Mason.
Yeah. So it's like they're going in, they're going to grid stuff off just like an archaeologist.
I'm telling you, there's just too many things here.
Too
Now,
many things. And the metal that they find on lot 5, they tie back to Phipps's hometown.
yep.
Same type of metal.
Now, here's one of the things that really got me when they were talking about this, and I had forgotten this from Scott's book. But one of the things that got me on this was, and check this out, folks. This is key. When they divided up when they divided up, oh, those names are noted here in Halifax, the streets, etc. Oh, yeah, there you go. When they divided up the lots on Oak Island, one of the key things on the land grant was that check this out. And this is the only place that I know of, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who lives up there, but I'm pretty sure they talked about this on the show. But why in the land grant, any treasure found on Oak Island belongs to the government.
Yep, belongs to the crown. Yep.
Why would you have that condition in the land grant for these 32-acre lots, 4-acre lots, 32 4-acre lots on Oak Island?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you put that
more
on there
importantly,
unless you thought
this was not an arbitrary decision. Somebody somewhere had to know that when we're going to give away this section of land, I want it in there that any treasure found comes back to us.
Now, why would you do that unless you knew there was something going on there?
Mm-hmm. It's not boilerplate stuff. It was only on that area.
Only that area. And Prescott, who's the guy who
they're all tied together. The whole works of them. Yeah.
Bellisher, Prescott, tied together, both brothers of the first American Lodge. Mm-hmm. And the guy who is also out there, Charles Morris, he was part of all that. Mm-hmm. He divides it all up. Those guys made up the provincial government at that time.
And I mean, the government at that time would have included Maine, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick, right? It would have all been in one area.
1762, Gina, if that's the question you're asking. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 100 years before, or no, that was only 30 years before the money pit was found.
Yeah.
Well, why would you have that?
But the treasure was recovered 100 years before the money pit.
Right. So, yeah, that just seemed, and then Tom said, from the wood and everything that they've been finding all around in the island and in lot 5 and all of that, I still say that the money pit, the original money pit deep under the ground, was not, because they were talking about, they were kind of alluding to the fact that Phipps had something to do with all of this. And I disagree with the money pit section on that. I don't know. But if they've had wood samples taken from deep in the money pit that go well back before Phipps's time.
Yeah. The one thing we know is that the island was frequented by people over hundreds of years.
Yep.
And seeing as how one person does not normally live hundreds of years, we know it was several generations of people.
Yep. Harvard. Yes, many of those dudes all went to Harvard.
It's all, they're all tied together.
They're all tied together.
Even the guys that lived on the island.
And that's the kicker. Yeah, the guys that are living on the island. And that's the kicker for me, is that little bit about that condition. If any treasure is found, it stays up to the provincial government. Mm-hmm. So they knew. They may not known where it was, but they knew. That's just crazy.
Why you put all your buddies with lots on the island, I guess.
Right. And then you have that, and whether or not this was or not, but then you have that piece of metal, piece of burned metal in a long sustained or very hot sustained fire, according to Carmen Legg.
Yep.
This bracket that was 9 inches from bend to bend, that he said is from a ship. It's a plank bracket.
Yeah.
And it was found in the money pit, or I'm sorry, found in the swamp, and it was burned, and yeah.
The only thing with that is the swamp to me is always, everything in that blows into that swamp to me is suspect. But if you burnt a ship in that swamp, you should find a lot more than a couple of pieces.
You would think so, yes. I mean, it would have had to have been burned completely.
But again, burn a ship completely, and you get storms blowing in and out of there for a couple 100 years. How much is going to be left?
Right. I don't know.
I
don't know. But then the layout of the swamp itself, the triangle with the eye. I mean, come on. That's just too. I mean, if it was triangle shaped, that'd be one thing. But triangle shaped with an eye at the top. What's on your dollar bill, folks?
Yeah.
Fred found burned items. Yes, he did. Thank you, Linda.
I have no doubt that there'd be burned stuff in there. I mean, any ship that burnt or sunk or, whatever.
Yep.
I mean, even within a ship itself, I mean, there were areas with stones, like you built fires within ships, right? There were cooking areas within ships. There were stone lines, stone floors, whatever. There was areas in the ship you would burn things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree, Gina. I think it is. It truly is. And like I said, if you don't have Scott's book, you should get it and read it, because
it's a great book.
It goes through this very well. And the blue clay, they remember when they went out and they showed this on the show, on Tales. Yeah. They went out to the money. They showed the scene where they went out to the eye of the swamp and they dug down in there. They drained it as best they could. And then they dug down in there and they found those big stones down there. That potbelly stove was found, pieces of one. And then they found all that blue clay. Now, where else did they find blue clay? 40 foot down in the money pit.
Yep.
On the next, when the guys made it down about 30 feet, the three young men, or the three men that originally, or was it Vaughn, McGinnis, and Ball, or Vaughn, McGinnis, and Smith? They dug down 30 feet and they stopped because they couldn't go any deeper. And then they got 4 years later, they got going and they dug down to the 40 foot and they found that blue clay on there, like a sealant. Maybe they salvaged as much as metal as they could after they burned the ship. Yeah,
or before they burned the ship.
Yep.
I would think, it's hard to say, but I would try and get as much off as I could before, because burning that iron like that is probably going to make it brittle, I would think.
Yep. And then this wood sample, this was a piece of wood sample. Remember when Ian, they showed this on our program last night, Ian had taken one of his, I don't know what you call this plunger thing that he goes and he sticks it down into the dirt below in the water. Yep. And he gets a sample of the base of the area.
He's doing a core sample. Yeah.
Core sample. It's like a core sample. And in that core sample, he talked about the Arctic or the glacial stuff layer. And he talked about the new layer. And in the middle was this disturbed layer that was disturbed. And then he found this piece of wood and they dated that piece of wood. And lo and behold, what did that piece of wood come out at? 1600s, late 1600s. Now, who would have been around there? Who possibly could have been around there in late 1600s? They would have had anything to do with it. So I'm thinking, and this is my speculation, folks, completely my speculation, but I'm thinking that anything that was down deep in the money pit was not Belcher and Phipps and them guys. I think more along the lines of Templar or, whoever could have been engineered something like that. But the eye of the swamp.
We know that the entire Maritime Provinces was active from 1600s on.
Yeah.
From the time Champlain appeared in 1604.
Yep.
To Port Royal, the different forts and ports and everything around Atlantic Canada. Maps were not hard to come by. It's who was sharing those maps and what was of particular interest on those maps to certain people.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, he was calling it Site A. That's the eye of the swamp, because Marty had said that to Ian when they were doing it. He said, "We're calling it the eye of the swamp. You can call it the Site A."
Yep.
But yeah, he found that piece of wood. It dated to the late 1600s, and that fits the Belcher. So I think, or Phipps. I think the Phipps was involved in the eye of the swamp. I think that the whole swamp section was by somebody else.
Belcher was a Mason too, right?
Yep.
So I mean, let's face it. Belcher is not going to do anything without Phipps knowing about it.
Right. Yep. And then you got that map. And now this is the other map that he was working with. You got that map with that one letter A that was right here in Mahone Bay, pointing to Mahone Bay, that had the little, and that looked like the what they call the
Mason Square. Yep.
Mason Square
Compass
has that.
Square. Yep.
Compass and Square has that, like an A compass with the square in the middle, making the A, and that's what this was. It was shaped just like that, and it was pointing right to Oak Island. And then when he found the other ones on the edge over here, there's one there, one there, one there. When you go a circle with those, you notice it doesn't keep this part of in there.
Nope.
But you circle with those 3 dots through the compass point, and where does it go? Right through Oak Island.
Yep.
I mean, and this is something that Scott said. You take the map, the letter of the same year, and the silver detected in the money pit. I mean, you've got a lot of things that are pointing to the same person or people.
And then some people will look at that map and they'll go, "Oh, you're crazy. It doesn't mean anything." But I've been following the works of a fellow by the name of Jake Roberts here for the last couple of years.
Yep.
And how they would put stuff in maps to decode. I mean, the people that knew what to look for, it's like any other thing you hide. If you know what to look for, you can find it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But to the average person looking at that map, that would mean nothing.
Right.
Right. But if you know what to look for, those symbols mean something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, why would you do that on 3 different A's?
Mm-hmm.
You've got that little notch, that little square showing.
And they were very particular about how they made letters and presented letters.
Yep.
How they printed and how they wrote. They're very particular about that.
Yeah. So that wasn't a mistake. Maybe one might have a weird one, but that's not a mistake. No, it wasn't a mistake.
Even mistakes weren't mistakes. They were done on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. So I really believe that Phipps did have something to do with the Oak Island story, but I believe it was later on. And they talked about the multi-generational use of Oak Island. I agree with that. I think that's very important, and I think that that the Deep in the Money Pit was originally started by somebody else a long time ago, before Phipps's time, but other people have used the island since then. And so this encampment that you heard me talk about, what Laird, his quote, and I wrote it down word for word from his quote, is exactly talks about the British military, Navy, British, so it's not
multiple peoples over hundreds of years. I think exactly. But the question is, I'm like Laird. Show me that piece that tells me.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
That's the piece that we got to find.
Rick says time and time again, a theory is yet just a theory until you're holding it in your hands.
Yep. So, we got a pile of smoking guns and no ammunition.
Exactly. So but I believe in the Phipps storyline. I really do. I don't think he was the only one, but I really do.
It's totally plausible that that him and or his crew or Belcher was there. Totally plausible.
Absolutely. I agree. So, all right. I don't know. That's what we got for you. And Linda told me there is another one for next week. Next week's Tales from Oak Island is the Trail of the Templar Cross. The trail.
I got to dig out some of Gretchen's books and brush up before next week.
Yes, I know, right? So, and I'm looking forward to the Curse of Oak Island next week too. So that's going to be a lot of fun. All right. So coming up on the podcast, of course, we'll be covering next week's show, of course, Oak Island number 5. But tomorrow night, for those of you who liked Beyond Oak Island, I've been talking with some of the researchers and treasure hunters that were from Beyond Oak Island TV show. And the lady we have on tomorrow is one of those. Donna McCauley was working on the Sam Bass episode along with Gypsy Jules. Donna has been busy, and she's been working on a lot of different things.
Yep.
So we're going to have her as a special guest tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, right here at the J Free 906 podcast. Donna McCauley's going to join us. She's got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's really interesting things.
When it comes to history of that whole area, she is a wealth of knowledge.
Absolutely.
Not just on Sam Bass, but a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so she's got a lot to talk about. Then, of course, next week we've got Oak Island number 5. And then on the 12th, on Thursday, a week from tomorrow night, James Keenan. James has been on the show before, but he also has a lot of new stuff to talk about. Oh, my gosh. Him and I were going back and forth for quite a while with his research. So James Keenan, he's been out at Skinwalker Ranch. He's been out at Blind Frog Ranch. He's got a lot of stuff that he's done on his own. So we've got James Keenan coming up on the 12th. And then on the 19th, KG and Ringy, who are metal detectorists that are pretty famous guys if you're into that whole thing. So we got a lot of people coming up here. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I hope that you guys will join us for all of these shows coming up between now and Christmas. We got a lot of stuff to cover. So I would love to have you here. And again, if you haven't, like I mentioned earlier, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And I see somebody said we got about 111 thumbs up already. Thank you very much for that. If you like the content that we've given you here tonight, give us a thumbs up. We appreciate it. And Tom, thank you very much, sir. Again, as always.
All good. Fun.
And Linda and Jan for doing the synopsis, and for all of you who have joined us here tonight. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And we'll catch you next time right here in the J Free 906 podcast. Good night.
Thanks,
everybody.
Jan. Good night.